Hello everyone, welcome to the Commando cast. I'm Andrew. Mike is not with us tonight because, quite frankly, he used up all his wife points going to LVO this weekend. But that's okay because it gives me an opportunity to do something that's kind of become a bit of a tradition on set releases. So today I want to talk Better with Age, Covert Missions Edition. All right, guys, so some quick background on this sequence. So usually on a set release, the kind of tradition we've set up is I do a Better with Age. So I look at the characters I think that are going to be still relevant, or the existing characters that I think are going to be still relevant to the next meta. And then I follow up on release day with some deck lists that I think will be fun, or at least you'll see flying around early meta. The problem with doing a 2-week sequence is I kind of have the feeling that with the way this set's not releasing and keeps getting delayed, that it's suddenly just going to like show up on our doorstep. So instead of trying to plan out a 2-week release schedule, figured I would just do this. And now that all the set's been released, I'll probably just do another one next week, and we'll get the set when we get the set. So, all right, yeah. So like I said, the purpose of this is to list a bunch of characters that already exist that I still think will be relevant when the next set comes out. Usually I try to choose like 5 or 6. Obviously, we're getting towards the end of what would have been a rotation block. So there's actually a lot of characters. I have 10, I think, and then an honorable mention at the end. Maybe it's 9 with an honorable mention. But either way, let's get started and go right into it. All right, so the first character I have on my list is Jyn. So she's a character who obviously has been on this many times before. I keep trying to make her good. She keeps letting me down. But I think in this set, with the release of Luke, that's Pilot Luke, 14-point blue, I think she actually has a shot, right? So part of the problem she's always had is that 2-gun. The lack of a resource on her hasn't been a big of a problem as I think a lot of people think, at least to me, with the way I play her. And I've kind of gone on record before saying I think that Jyn works really well in an aggro deck where she can just kind of surgically take strategic cards away instead of trying to use her for a mill strategy. So I think she's going to work really well with Luke, right? So Luke is 1-gun, 2-gun, 2-for-1, and then the +2. That's a lot of guns on the table to try and pair with the +2s. Plus you get your pacifies, you get your hidden motives, right? That's kind of where the Jyn Cassian deck lacks. It doesn't have a whole bunch of 0-cost removal. Luke can help bring that to the table, and there's other stuff coming. So I do think that this Jyn Luke, you're at least going to see early. I think you're going to see it flying around, probably at least your local meta. So I think Jyn will bring something to the table this meta. All right, character number 2 is Chopper, right? Cantankerous C110P, so good old Chopper. So, I mean, the real reason I think he's going to be good is just because of all the Spectres. Like, I don't think this one's a groundbreaking statement. Probably won't spend a lot of time on this guy, but he really just keeps in theme with the Spectres. It's his ability to not only bring yellow and turn on the yellow cards, which other guys can do, right? Zeb and Sabine both can do. But it's his ability in that 8-11 slot to really help you ramp. I think almost any 5-die deck that we see for Spectre, and there's a lot of them, I think most are going to try and use Chopper. So I don't think there's really much more to say there. Chopper's going to continue to be relevant, whether it be droids, whether it be Spectre, whether it be some other weird deck. Maybe that Shadowcaster Engineer deck comes back. I don't know. We'll see. But Chopper definitely is going to keep being relevant. All right, so a new character to this list is Blue Ezra. That's right. So that's Way of the Force 8-11 Ezra. He's really going to be relevant really just for kind of the same reasons we were talking about Chopper. He's not going to be as good as Chopper, but if we're looking at these 5-die pairings, I think he's relevant. He's never been on this list before for me, but I do think, he hasn't actually seen a ton of play in general, but I think if he's going to see play ever, it's going to be in this set and in this meta, right? So it's just what he brings to the table. The card draw is really good. Ezra Saber is in a lot of these type of decks anyway, and it has that extra bonus on him. Not that it's probably going to happen that often, but it could, right? So let's give him a shot. All right, next up is the Super Ping Commando, or the Mandalorian Super Commando. this guy's been doing a ton of work lately. I mean, he's actually been doing a ton of work through his entire existence, right? He was part of Mother Mando's that helped destroy kind of the mill, or at least attack the mill meta. He was a huge part of my offensive part of my Maul deck, right? Trying to give almost a 2 target. Snoke Troopers, as he uses them right now. He's just huge utility, right? I mean, there's no argument there. The reason I think he's going to be even better and more important in this set is it really boils down to the 2 yellow 1-drops that we got in this set, the Pike Blaster and Boba Fett's Wrist Laser. So both of these have drawbacks, which, well, they should for the die sides that they have. The Pike Blaster, of course, only has redeploy on a guy with Guardian, so it won't have redeploy on him, but it's also 1 for a 1, and a 2 for 1, and it does 1 damage when it comes in. Boba's Wrist Laser is really the same. It does 1 damage when it comes in. It's 1, 1 plus 2 plus 2. Fantastic sides. I think you're going to use it. Even if you don't decide to discard to resolve it, I think you're still okay with it because you paid the 1 to get the 1 damage as it is. So I think the Mandalorian Super Commando, just with these 2 cards, really got upped in power level, and I think you're going to continue, if not see him even more than you did before. All right, character number 5 is no stranger to this list. It's Palpatine, right? Palpatine just keeps getting better. I mean, every ability that comes out gives him more and more options. And, you know, most notably, all the stuff that we're getting for Bane and all this big stuff really just potentially helps Palp get better, right? Does he play Deathfield? Maybe, maybe not. The other reasons that I really think that Palp has a lot of potential here is I could see potentially a pairing out there with a Jawa Junk Dealer. You know, could you sacrifice red? Could you sacrifice yellow? Maybe, maybe not. But the Junk Dealer being able to play the gray stuff for free, Merchant Freighter itself, whether you're playing Jawa Dealer or not, also brings more money to Palp. I think Palp is looking real strong still, if not even better. And there's no way he's going away because he's a beast as it is, and Palp's going to be super strong. All right, character number 6 is Dr. Papercut, good old Dr. Aphra from Legacies. Always just a solid portion. She's always been there in the meta, right? Basically, since 000 and BT came out, she's just always been there. She didn't really get anything new for this set, at least on the first 1 or 2 passes that I've seen. But the reason that she's been added to this list is really just her ability to bring DM to the table, right? I mean, any yellow villain can bring DM to the table, but I don't think anybody uses it better than her because she gets to do what she wants, and then you get to draw a card off of it, right? So with DM going to be super valuable in this next meta, at least unless there's changes made, which we'll see, right? But as it stands today, regardless of the fact she doesn't get new toys, I just think her ping damage off DM and the fact that she gets to draw just makes her super relevant. I don't think she's going anywhere, and I think Aphra is going to be someone we have to learn how to deal with. All right, character 7, and pretty much has always been on this list since I started doing it, was Vader TTB, right? This guy is always just a relevant threat, right? In the last meta, just when he thought he wasn't relevant, Nick Nelson takes down a Prime in Boise, and then boom, he's back with Vader Greedo, right? So we can't seem to get away from yellow Vader. Red Vader's always been around. The guy can just show up and roll 7 damage, right? So what I do think is interesting in this set is maybe a pairing with the new Pike Sentinel. I could see that. There may actually be something out there with the Jawa Junk Dealer and like Lightsaber Mastery or some plot like that. I don't know if the Jawa Junk Dealer one's going to happen. The Pike Sentinel one is interesting. It loses you the die, but it has the Guardian to kind of suck away that damage as it is. So I don't know. Again, being able to just roll in 7 damage and do it alone is what keeps him on this list, but he does have potential new pairings and potential new cool stuff for this next set. All right, character number 8 is Jango. So I know I keep trying to make Jango good, and he's just kind of like tier 1.9 or whatever you want to, or 0.9, whatever you want to call it, right? isn't quite there, but the amount of money that this guy makes is just absurd, right? So you pair that with the fact that Slave 1's coming out, which of course lets him gain piloting and can do a damage, and Slave 1's good on its own right. Then you go back to Boba's wrist laser, which we talked about before, but that isn't equipment, right? So that one comes in, has amazing gun sides, and basically deploys for free. Then you also have the new Z6 jetpack, which I am in love with, right? So aside from the 2 gun sides, right, one's a pay for one, that special is amazing. So do you resurrect something cool like I had tried a Price Jango build, I had tried a Phasma Jango build, whatever you end up coming up with, just the more equipment and more better equipment. And Slave 1, I think, really put this guy into another space to at least try. So I do think that Jango's at least going to be poking around your local metas. The fact that he can back to up pretty quickly also makes him relevant. Is he tier 1? Probably not. If no one's been able to make him work at this point, probably not going to be able to make him work going forward. I can guarantee you a lot of people are at least going to be trying the Boba Jango coming right out of the gate. So I think this is a guy you see. I think he's someone you need to really consider. That Boba wrist laser on him. I know it's kind of ironic that it's Boba's laser that's so good on him, but I really like it a lot. All right, for my 9 slot, I kind of have a cop-out because I picked 2 characters, and the reason I have 2 characters is because I can't personally decide which of them is going to end up being better, right? So I have Aayla Secura and I have Mace Windu on here. Now, Mace obviously is really good for his ability to dig, right? No argument there. The reason I also have Aayla on here is Aayla really fills the same slot exactly as Mace does, except she can bring Built to Last to the table. And we've seen a lot of Built to Last decks doing a lot of really good work. So I don't want to discount Built to Last at all, and that's that. I should say the Aayla Built to Last instead of Mace. They can both do very, very, very cool things. So the 3 cards I'm showing here are really the ones I'm most interested in trying these guys with early. Tarful, right? Tarful is, I think, really good. His side. Just look at his sides. First off, 1 gun, 1 melee, 2 focus, and a money. Like, that's pretty much everything you want. He's also a leader, so he's not a trooper, which is probably his only complaint that I have on the guy. But he's pretty good. So I think he pairs really well with either Mace or Aayla, right? So you could do Aayla Built to Last Tarful, you could do just Mace Tarful. I think that one looks real good. Alternatively, and this is just the Mace one really alone, because you can only run, obviously, 1 plot, but the Elite Wookiee Warrior with Valorous Tribe for some movement and healing, I think that one also, for the Mace side, really warrants looking at. I've seen that played I haven't played it myself, I've seen it played a couple times. It hasn't been as effective as maybe you'd hope, because it's just kind of slow and it plods along and it moves around, but being able to throw move damage to your Wookiee if you're looking at good sides and hitting for that extra, that alone's strong. And Valorous Tribe healing for 1 per turn's no joke, right? So really, if you compare the Elite Kashyyyk Warrior to Elite Tarful, you lose some on the die sides, you lose 1 point of health, but you actually don't lose the health because of Valorous Tribe itself, assuming that you're taking damage. So I think that that's why I say I can't decide whether Aayla Built to Last or Mace is going to be really the way to go. So I think we kind of need to keep both these guys on our radar, but the reason I combined them is because it really is just kind of one archetype. All right, so bringing up our final slot today, this is kind of the honorable mention I was talking about, because it's not actually a character, it is Shadowcaster, right? So I am scared S-less of Shadowcaster reappearing in this meta. Shadowcaster, everyone has been avoiding it because of desperate measures. I get it. But I think people are really underestimating the power of this deck if you can bust down, like even if you run up against Yellow Hero, sure, it's a bad matchup, but you can still try and bust down their yellow character, and then you can play free. Or maybe you figure out some way, like Scruffy or something. It's not impossible to win, and a matchup versus a non-yellow villain with Shadowcaster is very, very, very gross. So I'm really, really scared about this, especially with that new card. I'll put it up. The name's escaping me, right? I think it's Pride and Joy. Yeah, Pride and Joy, I'm pretty sure is what it is, right? But it lets you just resolve that vehicle die and leave it in the pool. That's perfect for Shadowcaster because you're basically playing Fat Vehicle, right? So the Fat Vehicle archetype, I think, isn't quite dead yet. I mean, it's not in a great position, but I don't think it's dead yet. And I'm really afraid that it could make a huge resurgence and really start to mess up our locals. From a national perspective, global perspective, I don't think it's a huge threat. But again, somebody shows up and the field just fits them at your local, and like it's Shadowcaster for the win, right? It's just ugly. So it's feel bad on both sides. I'm really, really scared about Shadowcaster going forward. All right, guys, so those are my top 10 characters that I think we could continue to look for going forward as the next set drops with new pairings. I did want to mention one character that I actually didn't put on this list, and I keep wanting to, but it just doesn't quite work, and that's Mother Talzin. So I think Mother Talzin has actually a lot of good, just with the way the math works, I think she has a lot of good pairings. There's a bunch of odd 1-drop and 3-drop cards that are really relevant and good right now. The problem with Mother Talzin is that you feel really uncomfortable because there's so many good 0-drops, right? You have, I mean, Motive and Forsaken to start, right? So if you throw in the Motive Forsaken, which you automatically do for blue, you're already playing it basically 1 card shy of like your theoretical max of where you want Talzin to be. So I do think that Talzin could potentially work it out. It's just it feels really bad to leave all that 0 costs kind of in your box. So that's why she's not on the list. It doesn't mean she's dead yet. Mother Talzin is still really good at that 9 slot, especially because we're seeing a lot of these 14 and 14, 13 type characters. And with the non-elite or non-unique elites, Mother Talzin could also potentially pop up into relevance. So we'll just see what deck builders can do with her. Maybe, maybe not. She pops up, but we'll see. Anyway, so that's my list and kind of my thoughts. Please leave in the comments what you guys are thinking. What decks are you guys excited to try? What characters do you think will continue to be relevant? You will notice I left Iden and Beckett off of this. That's mainly because I've had them on every one of these that I've done. And Beckett, I think maybe you dial back a little on Beckett just because of the new Pirate, Kragan Gore, right? I think Kragan Gore kind of fills that slot, and because people will be excited to try him, I think Beckett maybe pops back a little. Iden and Callus, I think, are neck and neck, right? The 2 focus on Iden is amazing. Callus's ability to just output damage is good, so I think those guys are kind of neck and neck. So I don't know. I left those guys off my list as well. Let me know if you disagree. But really, other than that, thanks for joining me today. Make sure, if you haven't already, to like, subscribe, help us grow the channel. Despite everything going on with Destiny, we can keep growing. And again, go Commando. In partnership with We Tabletop, the event directory for tabletop gamers.